Hi, welcome to the Better Mind Center's YouTube channel. For those of you who are new here, the Better Mind Center is a group of mind body oriented therapists and coaches helping clients recover from chronic pain, anxiety, and depression. We are so excited to be with you for our Troubleshooting Your Technique series. In this series, we'll dive deeper into traditional mind body recovery tools. We will get to share new perspectives and techniques for you to try during your recovery journey. I'm Bernice.
I'm Alyssa.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here with you today, Alyssa. And we will be getting to talk about, we will be answering some of your questions that we received from Christy's Instagram post. We got so many entries. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted a question. We look forward to doing hopefully another episode in the future. If we didn't get to your question today, hopefully we'll get to answer it then.
Right.
But we're so excited to start and get some questions answered for some of our viewers.
Yeah. So I think we should just kind of start from top to bottom. Let's dive in. Uh,
Let's do it.
so our first question that we received was, why are some symptoms harder to go away, and why are some more stubborn, especially when you know it's all part of the same kind of genre in your brain? It's all fear based. And I love this question, and there are a million different ways that we can answer it. And of course, it can be so context dependent. But the first thing that comes to my mind, at least, Bernice, is the longevity of a symptom. Like, how long is it engraved in your brain? How long is that neural pathway um, uh, like going for? I can't think of a
Mhm.
better term right now. And so sometimes symptoms can be more stubborn to go away or might take longer to go away, depending on the longevity that you've been experiencing the symptom or the relationship to the symptom, which I know you've talked a lot about, Bernice.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. 'Cause I was about to add in like that relationship component to it. Like, I think if we're focusing, so how we focus on the symptom or the sensation, like what continues to fuel that relationship, like I think that's what kind of makes it a bit tricky for some of these symptoms. For some, maybe to go away sooner, and then for some to kind of linger a bit longer, meaning we're maybe checking up on the sensation a lot, or we're just kind of in thought of the sensation throughout the day and all of that too. So I think there's many, like two big contributing factors
Mm.
to what can keep a symptom longer too.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else we should add to that one?
Um, no, I think that covers it for that.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, on to our next question, and that is, how can we have confidence symptoms are TMS mind body if there was a traumatic injury? So I love this question because I think it really kind of encompasses what the mind body component is all about, and just kind of gathering a lot of evidence and feeling confident in yourself that what you're experiencing is mind body based and not some structural component to it. Um, and one of the things that could be a really good indicator to determine that is it's just kind of sussing out the time frame. Has your body healed from whenever the injury has occurred? For most people, it's like that 3-month mark. And after the 3-month mark, are we still experiencing the same level of discomfort? And even though like doctors are potentially saying that, your body has healed and that everything should be okay, so kind of just using that as a good indicator around, is this now, are we stepping into more of the emotional
Mhm.
neural pathway that's getting ingrained around the symptoms that were probably really scary when the traumatic injury initially happened too.
Totally. So, like, is the emotion at that point perpetuating the symptom itself,
Mm.
essentially?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for me, when I listen or read this question, and I think so, I'm assuming this person means like in terms of a traumatic injury, a structural injury, like a broken wrist or something like that. If it's different and we're not answering this correctly, please forgive us and let us know. But when I see this question, I think, okay, well, if we have the clear from the doctors that it's been the normal, healing timeline trajectory, you shouldn't be experiencing pain, and you're still experiencing pain, that's really a telltale sign that, yes, it could be mind body and is probably TMS or mind body. And in that case, can you continue to learn to essentially trust that? And I know that that's so hard to do, but by being able to trust that through finding pieces of evidence throughout your day where it fluctuates or it changes or you don't notice it as much, you can really kind of bank the evidence that way. But I also think too, and this is more of like a personal anecdote, but um, whether it's with myself or clients and we know each other really well and have that rapport, and they're like, oh, what if this is structural? I like to go by kind of like the 2 week rule. So growing up, whenever I would go to the doctor, they'd always say, well, if you're still feeling that way in 2 weeks, then come back and we'll reassess. And 9 times out of 10, I was never still feeling the symptom 2 weeks later. So I'll do for myself or with clients, like, well, should we go by the 2 week rule right now? So should we just wait it out 2 weeks, see if it's still as pervasive or getting worse? And then can you assess whether or not you need to go back into the doctor for more clarification? I think a lot of it is just really revolving around the worry that it could be getting worse, and that usually goes away.
Yeah. Yes, I love that, and I wanna add to it too, within, like, that two-week rule, any time frame really that feels comfortable for anyone, it's just kind of assessing, gathering a little bit of evidence during that time frame too, of, like, are you noticing any shifts of the intensity of the pain? When is it going up? When is it going down? When is it not present? So, really building, trusting yourself around just kind of being a little bit of a detective for yourself and what you're experiencing in your body too. So,
Yeah, or last thing I'll say, could this preoccupation around whether or not the structural component is still there, is that actually a distraction from something else that needs to be addressed?
right.
And if there's something I'm avoiding by worrying about whether or not this structural or traumatic injury is still, like, going on inside my body.
Yep. Yep. I love that. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
our next one is, why is neuroplastic pain, TMS, mind body, whatever term you want to use, why is it delayed? And I think what they mean, and Bernice, correct me if I seem to be wrong, is like potentially why is it when you do an activity or you have some type of circumstance where you, in theory, should feel the neuroplastic pain then, but then you don't feel it for hours or days later? Is that how you're interpreting this question too?
Well, I'm looking at that question too, just kind of like it's not happening in the moment, but it's maybe happening an hour later or something like that. Or maybe the next day too, where you're just thinking in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, we're probably doing too much kind of like mentality to what we're experiencing too.
Gotcha. Yeah. How would you answer that one? I'm curious.
I often find that, like, for a delayed onset, I think it's just our body slash brain kind of checking in on whatever it is that we just did. Was that actually okay for us to have done? So it's just, again, our pain is a danger signal. So can we then use safety messaging around, yeah, that activity was actually safe. No, it wasn't too much, and I'm capable of doing XYZ. Like, what
Mhm.
comes to mind is, like, if sometimes for me, just a personal anecdote here, if I go to the gym and I'm, like, working out, like, my shoulder would tend to give me issues sometimes, and then right after, like, an hour and I'm home and I start experiencing, like, a lot of soreness, and I'm like, "Why do I feel soreness on the other side? It's just here, like, what's happening?" Like,
Mhm.
I had to, like, kind of bring it down a bit of, like, "Nope, like, everything's okay, everything's even keeled, but I'm giving out this a lot of attention." So just being able to reinforce that the activity that I just did was actually not dangerous to my system, but rather it is making me stronger. And I love that exercise. Love, you know, and always like working out, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And I also think it's like really important to maybe even like decondition the thought that there could be a delayed response because of an activity. So if you go to the gym and let's say you have chronic back pain, and when you're in the gym, your back pain is totally fine. You don't even feel it. And then 3 days later, the back pain hits and you're like, oh, it's because I went 10 pounds heavier in the gym. How do we, like, literally, how do we know that that is true? We cannot make that causation. There maybe is a trigger, but it is not a result of you going up 10 pounds in the gym. And if you think about it, if you were to have actually injured yourself from increasing the weight in the gym, for example, you would have felt the pain in that moment, not days later. So I always say, like, can we actually practice like deconditioning that there could even be a response or a delayed situation, a delayed pain given a situation that you were just in, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah, I love that reminder too, of just like deconditioning that. And I think that can be helpful to kind of keep in mind as you're stepping into whatever activity that you're going to do too, that if there is the potential for a sentence to come on, that we're going to look at them more from a place of like, yeah, I got my body moving and I want my body to be
Right.
in motion. So kind of building a little bit of confidence with things that you're going to step into as well, rather than feeling like, oh, there's the fearfulness around like there's a potential that I'm going to experience something. So like right back to your point of like deconditioning a little bit of that response too.
Yeah, deconditioning the association. That's what I was trying
Mhm. Yeah.
words up today.
Yeah. All right. Next question. How can I stay more confident and regain hope? Um, and for that question alone, I think, hope feels like so big for a lot of people because it's your own experience of however it is that we're perceiving hope. One of the things that I like to focus on when we're talking about hope and feeling like we're losing a bit of that is refocusing a bit around, can we create an intention? uh,
Mm,
Doing one thing for ourselves rather than like tackling everything all at once, where I feel like we can lose a bit of that hope when it feels like we have all of these things that we're holding onto that we want change for everything all at once. So
mhm,
can we create an intention around one thing? And that one thing can be, I'm going to practice self-compassion today,
mm,
and sometimes that can be enough to help bring ourselves closer to that place of instilling more hope for ourselves, or feeling more confident in ourselves, or feeling overall resilient with the process, where I recognize that it can be really frustrating or like we're losing that hope and um, experiencing a bit of the depression or sadness around that too.
absolutely. And it like you said, it's so hard to often hold on to hope when we feel like we're going, kind of like an uphill battle with this pain or with this experience. Like, how do you keep holding on when you're not necessarily seeing the results that you would see if you were, I don't know, doing something non-pain related where there's more of a cause and effect that can give you that hope and that confidence? When I think of this question, just to give a little bit of a different perspective, I actually really love when either clients or myself are losing hope in something, especially when it comes to mind body symptoms, pulling in the social support. So, personally, if I need some like hope instilled within me or some confidence instilled within me, or I know a client might need that, I reach out to someone and I'm like, I'm feeling so discouraged today. Can you just give me some words of encouragement? Like, please, or can you tell me that I'll be okay? So, really voicing and advocating for your needs. I think that can also be so hard in the chronic pain recovery process. But that is also an opportunity to practice changing your response to disappointment, advocating for yourself in different ways. So I like to really hone in on the social support or really give clients the I know, even if you feel like you can't hold on to hope for yourself right now, I will hold on to it for you.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that reminder too. And sometimes it's kind of just asking, like, whoever's in our social circle, that we can say, "Hey, can you be a little bit of my hope holder for me in this moment? And, can you just be with me right now as I'm just going through this moment?" Just knowing that there's like that support near you, whether it's over the phone, physically, or via text, whatever it is, that you are not alone in that process too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Next question. How to overcome hypervigilance? Ooh, I think we could talk for hours about this.
Mhm.
Uh, how to overcome hypervigilance. I actually would love if you took this, Bernice, because you always have such a great approach on hypervigilance and like how to build that response. So, can you
Yeah, I love this question because I like to kind of, my perspective on this is kind of like we're looking at the pain fear cycle, right? And I think those words can be interchangeable for anything really. It can be um, anxiety headache symptoms, right? Like the anxiety headache loop that someone is experiencing, or it can be the hypervigilance pain loop that someone is experiencing. So overall, like I think recognizing that there is a loop happening, that all of those words can be interchangeable, and we can look, okay, do we have a little bit of awareness that we're actually in a hypervigilance state, that we are really cognizant of something occurring, and then being able to break that loop. Is there something that we can distract ourselves with? Is there something that we can fall into soothing, um, to ground ourselves? Anything to help, break that cycle a bit, and recognizing that sometimes the hypervigilance is gonna come right back up, and that's okay, that's to be expected 'cause it's a very familiar pattern that our brain is stepping into, but the more that we continue to break the hypervigilance, that the more that it'll feel easier to break those loops too. So, that's my approach on the hypervigilance.
I love that approach, and I love that you also compared it to just, like, the pain fear cycle. It's the same exact thing, just a different flavor, and
Mhm.
that too reminded me of, like, the 3 C's method in chronic pain. So, like, catch, congratulate, or celebrate, and carry on, and
Mhm,
so take that mentality with hypervigilance, which is kind of expanding on what you were saying, Bernice. Can you practice when you notice yourself becoming hypervigilant, can you catch that? Call it out for what it is. "Okay, I'm noticing some hypervigilance right now." Can you
mhm,
celebrate the fact that you broke the pattern and congratulate yourself on that? And then
mhm,
can you actively choose to carry on or redirect to either a sense of safety or even just the present moment? Like what is safe in your surroundings? And if not safe, what is neutral? Can you hone in on something you see, hear, touch,
mhm.
smell, whatever it might be just to reground yourself too?
Yeah, yeah, I love that reminder so much too. And Meg, I mean, hopefully what we're sharing right now too can be integrated for many things too, not just the hypervigilance, again, interchangeable for any of the other loops that we're noticing that we're stepping into. Yeah. All righty. Next question. I've had chronic dizziness for 8 years. I've started using your techniques. Will I get better? Yes. 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 I don't know who you are, and that's okay, but I love this question because it's just, like, trusting the process, leaning into trusting the process, and this process works for everyone, and it's just a matter for some, it takes a little bit longer than others, and that's okay, but I definitely feel like you'll get better, just keep at it. If you need support, reach out, kinda going back to, like, the social support or reaching out for professional support. And trusting yourself that you'll get through it too. But yeah.
Yeah. I always say it's like chronic pain recovery is really like, hopefully, if you do it well, investing in stocks. It's like you put so much into it in the beginning. You don't really see the payoff, but you're just kind of trusting that it's going to pay off at some point. And then at some point, again, if you do it well enough, it pays off. I also can sometimes equate it to like riding a bike. You put in the effort to learn how to ride a bike. You keep putting in that effort without seeing the result. And then one day it just clicks. Um, and so it's just like you're saying, just kind of trusting that that click is going to happen. But of course, yes, whoever you are, yes, you are so going to get better. Full Yay. Okay. So next question. Let's see. We already covered that one. Okay. So the next one is going to be resuming activities. And this one's in terms of chronic fatigue, but I think this question can really go for any mind body symptom. Resume activities with chronic fatigue, CFS. Should I keep going even when my symptoms flare up? Ah, this is such an amazing question, and we can answer it so many different ways. Uh, for me, when I think about this question with any mind body symptom, should I keep going even when my symptoms flare up? I think about the intention in which the should keep going is coming from. So if you have chronic fatigue and let's say, you're flaring up, but you should be going on a walk. Are you going on that walk with the intention of feeling good and empowered and maybe expending some energy to get some in return, which is really common for chronic fatigue? We have to give some energy to get more back in return. Or are you doing it from a framework or from a mindset of like, I should go because if I don't, X, Y, or Z will happen. So I think it's really about the intention. Are you going about it from a place of empowerment or a place of maybe I guess fear to in some degree as an umbrella term, but I'm curious
Mhm.
what you think about
Yeah, I
these.
love that framework 'cause I think that can be, like, a really good thing to kinda keep in mind where are we in the way that we're looking at, like, when symptoms come on. And the other thing too is just kind of gathering a little bit of awareness around, what are our limitations? Like, even though symptoms come on, everyone has like their kind of stopping point of like, I can't do more. So being attuned to when our body is saying no more, or also when we're saying no more, but somehow we're kind of doing a little bit of like that fearfulness push. So just gathering a little bit of information around like what are our limitations, and I kind of like to look at it from like the two different buckets of, are we stepping into a flare up where we're starting to get really afraid that we're causing ourselves some harm now, or that it's just going to be really bad, that at that point let's just pause, right? Let's pause what we're doing and let's kind of create a different approach by taking care of ourselves, slowing down, taking a beat for a moment, whatever it is that's kind of soothing our system. And then the other bucket that I like kind of like to look at it is, can we play around a little bit with what we're experiencing? Can we push from this place of empowerment? Can we gain a little bit of momentum of the way that we're looking at our symptoms from a place that's less fearful and more curious? So I think just kind of assessing from those two buckets can be really helpful too.
Yeah, and I'm such like a example-led person. So I'm like, okay, how would this look like in practice? And I think what we're getting at is like, let's say you have chronic fatigue and you know that your threshold usually is about like a 10-minute walk and you're at minute like 8. And usually either because of fear or because you're just genuinely tired and done with the walk, maybe your symptoms flare up and you're wondering, should I push through and keep going? Is that coming from a place of empowerment and curiosity and changing your response to what you're ready, which bucket you wanna come from essentially? Or is it coming from, if I go an extra 2 minutes, I'm gonna be even more flared up? Or is it coming from, well, my threshold is only this, so I don't wanna make things worse, but I also wanna get better? I think as well, I guess what I'm trying to get at with this one is when you hit that threshold, do you wanna keep going? It's good for you and you're enjoying it or not? Like, I'm kind of reiterating the same thing you just said, but my brain needs, like, a concrete example.
No, I love that example too, because it's, for me, I kind of go back to this question of like, what do I need in this moment, right? So if we're pushing again, I think that question alone we can gather a little bit of information of like, what do I want from this moment right now? To Oh, I feel empowered. I want to continue to feel empowered. Okay, I'm scaring myself. Let me pause at this point. So yeah, I think that's uh, the two buckets from both perspectives. I think is really helpful. But yeah.
Yeah. And if you're flaring up while you're pushing that threshold, that's probably a good sign that you're challenging your brain a bit, right? And your brain is noticing, "Hey, this isn't our norm to go 2 minutes longer on this walk. What's going on?" So maybe that's a piece that you should keep going, or at least affirm to yourself that it's okay to keep going, even if you choose not to.
Yeah, it can be a really good opportunity to rewire our brain if it starts to like just inch up a little bit, that and then we can pause, regulate our nervous system, and then step right back into it if we need to. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Our last question for today. Any recommendations for first thing to do upon waking? Ooh, I love this question so much because I think just the way that we start off our day really sets a little bit of the tone for how or the rest of our day can go. Like, just like a bit of an example, like if I ever wake up late or I think I hit snooze and then I actually don't, I wake up in the most panicked state. And I feel like in the rest of my days, like I'm just trying to catch up and they feel so flustered in my system. I feel like everything's a state of urgency and I get so frustrated and maybe I'm annoyed and irritable. A lot of me is being shared right now. But all to say, like, I think that just really kind of sets the tone for how the rest of the day and how I'm going to feel in my nervous system too. So first thing to do upon waking is, can we create a different perspective around how we're waking up? I mean, that can be various things. Not reaching for our phone first thing, not checking our social media, not checking emails. Um, and then maybe starting a bit slower, more gentle with like making yourself your cup of coffee or tea or whatever it is that you like to drink in the morning and really slowing that process down. What is whatever it is that your first drink of what am I trying to say?
To drink of the day.
First drink of the day. Um, that you can just really enjoy it using your senses. What does it taste like? What does it feel like when you get to have that drink in the morning? So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you hit something I can't even think of words either right now, but you're onto something with the idea of let's try that. Just really taking at least like one activity so slowly and so mindfully because
Mhm.
how you regulate throughout the day, and especially in the morning, is like you said, going to set your nervous system up to regulate that same way throughout the day and into the evening. And so I always recommend to clients like, is there at least one activity, whether it's brushing your teeth, your morning coffee, putting on your clothes? I don't care. Is there one activity that you can be like exceptionally slow at and be so mindful with? To help
Mhm.
again calm the nervous system from just being go, go, go. We already know in the mornings that our nervous system, like our cortisol is at its highest in the morning. That's our stress hormone. So that's already at its highest in the morning. And so we really need to match that with some slowness. And I would also say too, one last thing is I don't know about you, Bernice, but a lot of my clients are even just from the get-go, even if their intention is like wellness and like kind of like holistic care, they're so regimented in the morning with the wellness and holistic care that it's really just a different iteration of go, 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 go. So if you're one of those people that's like, I wake up in the morning and I lay down in bed for 5 minutes and then I meditate for 10 minutes and then I drink my coffee for 20 minutes and then I go back to my teeth for 5, like if you are so regimented with your self-care routine in the morning, you gotta stop that. Like, let's be a little bit more lax and go with the flow. Because again, what you do in the morning is going to set your nervous system up for how it regulates throughout the day.
Yeah. I mean, even I love that reminder too, like for like that, like having a regimen in your day. We can slow down one of those activities back to like your point, right? Like it's okay to have whatever schedule works for you because that's probably what you've been doing for however long. But slowing just one of those down and let's see what it feels like when you actually get to look at what you're doing from a different perspective of actually bringing a bit of awareness of like your movement and almost like how your hands are moving through whatever activity it is that you're doing for yourself too. So it's a different way of taking care of yourself. Like uh, one of the things that I really love to share with my clients is to slow down when they're doing their hair, whether it's like, a buzz cut or them actually styling their hair that like you like pay attention to those senses of like how you're brushing your hair that it feels good or when you're styling your hair that like you're doing it in a way that feels you're touching all of these different things, bringing a bit of that awareness to like, this feels good. This feels nice. This is how I get to take care of myself or whatever it may be. So, yeah.
That one. And I love the hair too, because obviously there are so many sensations and most people love when people play with their hair. So that can be such a soothing gesture. That's a great idea. I'm gonna start doing that one myself.
Yeah. All right. Well, those were all of the questions that we got for today. Again, please, we'll post up another Q&A, or Christy will post up another Q&A and then she'll pass along those questions over to us and hopefully we'll get to do another one of these episodes for everyone in the future. So, yeah. Or let us know in the comments below too if you have any questions that you would like answered or maybe some topics that you want to see that you haven't seen just yet. So,
Yeah, that'll be
yeah.
helpful. Yay. We'll see you guys later.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks again for joining us. If you are looking for one-on-one support or would like to stay connected, please reach us at thebettermindcenter.com or at better.with.christy on Instagram or subscribe to our channel to watch other videos. The links are also down below. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.